Hey, welcome to the channel, guys. As you can see from the title, you know what this is. No, this isn't clickbait. I really mean it. No matter what shooter you play, I'm going to go into some detail about a few things you can improve upon with little to no practice to become a better player. Shooters flood the gaming market, from battle royales like Fortnite and PUBG to your hero shooters like Overwatch and Paladins, and classic dogs like Call of Duty and Battlefield. All of these games have their differences, of course. They're not clones of one another, but they're all classified in the same genre for a reason. Of course, there's no such thing as one-size-fits-all solutions for everybody who plays these games, since everyone is different. Some people are older, some people are younger, some people have medical issues, and some of you guys out there have the attention span of a grain of rice, so there is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all. You as the viewer do have a job after this video other than giving me a thumbs up and subscribing for future content. This video is structured to stress upon what might seem like obvious things we all should be doing in our favorite titles, but a lot of the time we all fail to do so. I'm not going to really talk about it, improving your accuracy or something along those lines, because A, there's already a crap ton of those videos out there, and B, a suggestion like that would also expect you to actually really practice. So like, these points here are not for you to be sitting around for, like a whole week straight, 100 hours and then grinding out. These tips are to use right from the start. Most of this you can utilize right away, and maybe 1 or 2 points might take an hour or something to improve upon, but that's really about it. So with that being said, let's go into my favorite suggestion, and that's your strengths and weaknesses. So how good are you shooting from long ranged? What about medium ranged? How good is your reaction time? Do you miss a lot of your shots, or do you hit the majority of them? And be honest, come on. All these questions are more vital to your success in any title. I really don't care what the best gun is, or what the best perks are, or characters, or whatever. If they don't mask your weakness, but they worsen them, then they are completely useless for you. The biggest mistake many people make in any game, for that matter, is trying to emulate someone they see kick ass in their favorite game, and then try to equip everything and copy everything that player has and does. Then they find out that it rarely ever works as well, or even anything close to what they saw in the video. The setup works great for that person you're watching, but you're not that person, and vice versa. The best guns and perks or classes are going to be the ones that strengthen your weaknesses, not the ones that great players tell you to use. Now, I'm not trying to imply that these great players don't know what they're doing, of course, or they wouldn't be great. I'm just saying that the real specific things that work for them probably won't work as well for you, because you're not that person. As a player, it's up to you to figure out exactly what your shortcomings are and how to avoid dealing with your weaknesses, and focus on what you're better at. I'm assuming you've played many hours of a few shooter titles already in your life. So at this point, you actually have a body of work to think about and already go off, so you can figure out what's worked well for you and what hasn't. For example, if you so happen to be on Call of Duty, a lot of people prefer using iron sights on their guns. They just don't need a scope. More power to them, I guess, 'cause I definitely need a scope. So yeah. But if you're having difficulty seeing down the field, then come on, these iron sights just aren't for you. Try using a dual zoom or a scope that just lets you change your zoom levels. Even better, play at close ranges to your opponents in general. Stop trying to kill somebody across the map if you suck at aiming and only hit 1 out of your 10 shots. Just avoid those fights. Just get closer. If you're no good at holding your gun far away, then maybe you should stop using that LMG or sniper rifle, and go to a subclass. Use a close range gun. And this advice might sound obvious, and maybe a lot of this stuff does sound obvious, but it's things that people just aren't doing because they're like, oh, I like how this gun feels better than a submachine gun, or people call me trash for using a shotgun, or whatever the case is. You just need to do what's better for you, because your perks and your characters, your gun attachments, they're all there to help you perform better. All right, so here's another COD example. In case you don't know, Call of Duty is happening to be my favorite game that I used to play. Even though I hate Black Ops 4, I just follow the franchise because I love them. So anyways, we'll go back to the example. If you don't have the best reaction time, and you don't run a quick draw on your gun, then I really don't know what you're doing with your life. I really don't. If you don't have quick draw and you have a slow reaction time, how do you even get kills? I just don't get it. And for whatever the reason, if you can't equip a quick draw to your gun, you better stop using that gun because it's probably holding you back. And for some people like that are watching this video that are actually like pretty aggressive because they get like a lot of kills usually during the game and they're here just to maybe get like 1 or 2 tips to put them a little bit extra over the edge. Running fast mags or something like that will help you so you don't have to slow down for like reloads. You know, you probably already do that, but again, it's just like the little things like that that just make you better. And if you're a player that doesn't really aim to the upper body of your enemy, then like if you got a high caliber attachment, bro, let's be honest, those leg shots don't look any more crisp with your high caliber attachment. It's so useless. Stop using it. Characters and perks are just like your gun attachments. You pick the ones that work for your playstyle. Another game that I play a lot is Paladins. And I typically play a support character because I'm typically effective at paying great attention to detail that's happening with everyone during the game. You know, it's a strength of mine going back for, I played World of Warcraft for like a decade as like a support class. So I got really used to, you know, paying attention to everything. So since that's a strength of mine that I know I have, I go healer because it helps me play well. And it also just so happens to help all my teammates. And a lot of people don't like to pick healer, they go DPS. Most people play DPS. And some people play healer and some people play the other roles. But I go with healer because it works for me. And I know that. So I'm not going to go play, you know, something else that I'm not necessarily good at unless I really feel like it. But basically, guys, what I'm trying to get at is that we have certain skills sets that work for us than other ones, and you should stick to what's worked for you at one point and try to make it work better. Just think of the best games you've had, or maybe some of your kill cams you might have gotten, and try to remember what went well for you in that game. And once you figure out how fast you can actually comfortably move around the map, what type of gunfights fit better for you, you know, how good are your reflexes and sight is in general, I recommend going into a private match or the training mode some games offer and just trying out a bunch of different setups. Don't even bother with bots. Like, this isn't trying to make you aim better or anything. Try assembling specific loadouts that you think would help you. Just see what you like. Maybe that 6 zoom scope that you might use in PUBG that you're always trying to find, you know, and you can never find for some reason. You know, you try to put the 6 zoom on, then you look at the 4 zoom, like maybe it doesn't matter to you. Maybe the 4 zoom is just fine. Maybe that's what you've been needing this whole time and you keep looking for a 6 zoom, but you don't need it. You know, maybe a certain ability doesn't work the way you want it to. Like, you thought maybe like it was broken, but then you find out, you know, this didn't really do much. Like, so now you don't want to use it, but maybe some other ability does. You know, please just take like half an hour, maybe 40 minutes or something like that on your favorite title, just to play with all the stuff that the game gives you and see what combinations you like. If at all possible, while you're in these private games, do yourself a favor and learn these damn maps. Alright, moving on to the next segment here. If you didn't know, it's the maps of the game. Okay, it's supposed to be an obvious concept, and I swear everyone want to hit up the comments like, come on Picasso, we know the maps and stuff already. You know, we use our mini maps already. You know, we've been playing for hours and hours. Yo, just get that out of here. Alright, most of you watching this video don't know every nook and cranny of the map you're playing on. And if you want to improve your overall gameplay, you better learn all them hiding spots or them special spots in the map. Hell, I don't even know all the nooks and crannies. Alright, and I'm actually pretty decent at the games that I play. So, but it's important for you to know these things. Like, my 2 most played games right now, like I said, is Black Ops 4, unfortunately, and Paladins. Usually the maps on both games like follow like a 3-lane format. You know, you got a left side of the map, a right side of the map, and a middle portion. Now on every map ever, there are different side entrances you can take to get into the other lane. A lot of people don't utilize these locations to help maneuver on the map. For example, on Summit in Black Ops 4, or even, you know, the older Black Ops had it too, it's the same map. On one side of the map, there's a ledge to get you up on, so you can get into like the middle lane of the map. Now, I'm going to have the film up so you should see what I'm talking about here. You know, and everybody knows about this ledge. A lot of people have been doing this since back in the day, and that's fine. But what about these barrels that are here off the side? See, the barrels do the same exact thing as that ledge does, but it puts you in a different position. You know, because people are always looking at that ledge because that's what everybody knows about, but they might not know about these barrels, or they might not pay much attention to them because you never see anybody really going up and down on that, you know? So why would you look at it? So now you climb through on top of these barrels, and now you're pretty much got the advantage. No one's looking at you. You're like behind the 2 enemies, and you can just go ahead and drop everybody. That's just one, that's just one example of all these maps. And I guarantee you there are alternative methods to get from point A to point B on all the maps that enemy players won't expect you to take. Look, whatever tiny advantage you can get on a player in a game that comes down to mere seconds, you make sure you get it. And that's any shooter title. It does not matter what you're playing. When you get a new shooter, I recommend taking some time to explore the maps. Hell, I didn't do that with the current Black Ops, and like a month ago, I just discovered the ledges that you can jump on in frequency to get behind people. I saw someone else do it. I was like, damn, okay. Like, I didn't know that was there. That would have been so useful in Hardpoint or like Search and Destroy and the games that I've already played. Like, no one would have seen me coming. It's crazy. It's also important to know the maps because getting into gunfights in certain spots isn't beneficial to you regardless of your playstyle. Like, enemies looking down at you have a higher chance of landing a headshot on you because, I mean, just think about it. Like, you're trying to aim down on somebody, you know, your gun is just naturally going to float towards like that upper chest area to the head area. Like, you're not going to try to aim down on somebody and like start aiming at the floor. No, because you're just reacting to like the person that's below you. So you're just pretty much accidentally going to get a headshot. Like, that's just how that works. So if you're aiming up at somebody, I'm not saying it's impossible. You know, like, you can clearly, of course, you can win that gunfight, but he or she does definitely have an advantage over you. You know, so you probably want to avoid that if you can, unless you know the situation. Always play the situation. You know, if you get to shoot him first, he didn't know you was there. That's different. But you know, if you guys are trading blows, like, he's probably gonna win, at least in terms of like the percentage chance that he has. He's supposed to win. So aside from mastering all the maps that you might want to play on your game, you really need to focus to everything that's on your screen. You know, all those fancy in-game features. Alright, so this is the part of the video that covers all the in-game features. So I'm talking about using your entire interface here, you know, from top to bottom. The better players pay attention to everything on the screen. Now, this might differ from game to game, like what's, you know, on your interface, but the concept is essentially the same. You should always know like what your ammo count is, whether it's low or high, your count on grenades, stuff if you have any, your health if you can see the number, or I mean if your screener's red, that's a pretty good sign, or any other abilities. Like, you should just know what's going on like on your whole screen here. All right, now this might sound like a lot, but take a deep breath because it isn't as bad as it sounds. Quick glances at the information on your screen is sufficient enough to get the job done. So many players make the mistake at some point during the day of running into a fight he or she wasn't ready for. I've seen people trying to revive friends in PUBG while they were low health, and yeah, no, that didn't work out for them. They got dropped. I've seen people lose like all kinds of firefights because they ran out of bullets in the clip. Like, you know, your clip holds 32 bullets, you run into the room with 6 bullets, great, you're dead. Because now you're trying to reload, you got 2 people shooting at you. It's not going to work. Alright, so if you're playing a team-based mode, another thing you can do, I count in part of my interface too, is paying more attention to your teammates. Like, teammates are so useful, man, to giving you ideas of what's happening inside the game. If you see someone go to a room next to you, right, and they die, well, guess what? There's enemies in there. And you know, if you're playing like on Call of Duty, saying if you're playing core, you got your mini map in the top corner there. You get to see how many people were in there. Like, if 2 people were shooting, they're gonna pop up on the mini map. Now, of course, there's, you know, perks, whatever, that they might not come up, or they got a suppressor or whatever. But there's a good chance that you're gonna see what's going on. Like, okay, there's like 2 guys over there. Let me try to do something here. And if the first thing that went into your head was to follow the same exact path homeboy just did to die, stop. All right, just, you can either look at the doorway. Again, you gotta play the situation, but they might be trying to come out of that same doorway, so now you get to jump on them. All right, if they're trying to camp, just don't hit that same door or that window or whatever homeboy just went through. Go another way around. Take the extra 10 seconds or 5 seconds, not even 10 seconds. It'd be like, you know, somewhere between 3 to 6 seconds if you really have to run it all the way around, to come in at a different angle, because that angle is going to give you a better chance of survival. Because if you're going to hit the door where campers are, of course, come on, man, they're literally aiming at the door. You're going to go through, like, you're just not putting yourself in a good position. And that's what all shooters are about, just putting yourself in the best position to succeed. All right, so now here's another thing that why you want to care where your team is. If you're just so happen to be on like the opposite side of the map, right, and you can see your teammates are nowhere near you. All right, there's a good chance that people are going to spawn in on you. There's a good chance that you're going to run into enemies. All right, there's a good chance that you're going to have to fight multiple people. So things like that are important, because you want to, like I said, teammates are just important because they give you so much information without even talking to you. If you really pay attention to what's going on in the game, it will really benefit you immediately. And I can't stress it. It was gonna benefit you so fast. All right. So now, this is the last point I'm gonna get into. Is the last major point, because the video is already going on and no one really wants to sit here for half an hour, or nothing like that. The last point that I really want to make, that's like really important, that you can grasp and get so much better at right off the bat, is actually understanding the game mode you're playing. All right, so let's go into that. So your game mode. So many titles, if not all shooter titles, have many different game modes to choose from. All sorts of challenges, and all sorts of objective mode. A big mistake I know so many people make is treating every single game mode across all the titles like they're exactly the same. People move in a search and destroy match like if it was a team deathmatch. There's people out there who treat a shorter battle royale match, like those 8-minute modes, like if they're like the normal 30-minute duration game that you can play. Look, all these game modes are different from one another, and so should your approach to all of them be. This is the only topic I do suggest that you go out and watch what a pro says about the game mode. See what tips and tricks they might use in the game modes that you're trying to play. All right, after you get a few new ideas and suggestions, go ahead and think about what's the best way to use your strengths in that particular mode. Like, I'll give an example with Paladins. They have a siege mode, where you move the payload from point A to point B, but they also have a team deathmatch. And like I told you guys earlier, since I know how to treat these modes differently, I understand that it's not the same thing. It gets to a point where I like to play the support roles, like I said earlier. That's my favorite thing. But since I do that on Siege though. If I'm playing team deathmatch, I have to change my entire role. Like, I have to change the exact way that I even play this game. I go from a healer class to taking care of my allies to a damage class to strictly just kill the enemy team. Like, damage class in team deathmatch is much more beneficial for my teammates than my healing role is, because that's a shorter game. It's like 2-3 minutes or something crazy. You got to get like 40 kills, compared to Siege, where it's like a 10-minute match, unless you're just completely blowing the team apart. But we're not going to get all that specific here. So that's an example. I completely switched the entire dynamic of how I play that game based on the game mode. I go from support class to damage class. So that's just one example. Look, I promise you guys, you should have a different setup for every single game mode you play. Now, it might not be drastically different, but but there are some game modes that if you compare 1 and 2 to like against each other, it might be drastically different, from your characters to your guns to your perks, like whatever it is. And again, this goes back to truly understanding yourself as a player and trying to understand the game mode that you're on. There isn't too much elaborating I can do here from a general sense, because every game mode honestly needs its own in-depth explanation. But if you have any questions about your game mode, like I said earlier, your best bet is to look up how to actually play the insert game mode here on YouTube, or drop it in the comments and I can give whatever tips I have. Like, I'm not, a world-renowned professional, but I do have a lot of tips that usually work out well for me, so I'll have no issue sharing that stuff with you guys. Every game mode has specific strategies too. I should probably mention that. So it's important to at least be familiar with those strategies, because you might not want to use them because the strategy might not be beneficial for your play style. But I promise a lot of other good players are probably going to be using them, because they've already done this, what I'm telling you to do right now. They already know how to play the game mode. They already know how professionals move around the map. So they're probably going to try to emulate that, because a lot of people make this mistake thinking that they can do whatever these top dudes are doing. So now you have an advantage of knowing what they're going to do before they even do it. So if you guys have any other questions of what I covered though, feel free to drop that as well. And I hope I got through to you guys that if you're really interested in becoming, a better player, it all starts with yourself. Like, these tips will make you a better player at your favorite title sooner than later, and that's what I was really trying to get here. But you know what? Those tutorials that do take a little practice, guys, like aiming and stuff like that, are useful too, you know. But I'm gonna leave this video here because I don't want it to get like too crazy long. If you guys have anything you want to say or add or whatever, drop in the comments below. And until next time, happy headhunting.